Pastor Ed here with Daily Devotions for Friday, October the 27th, 2023. The last couple of days we've been talking about David becoming king and all the turmoil and controversy and everything going on between him and Saul and so forth. The reading today, which was actually assigned for last Sunday in the narrative lectionary, is from the next chapter, and it has to do with something very familiar to us, even though we may not know a whole lot about it. Let me read the lesson. It's 2 Samuel 6, verses 1 through 5. David again gathered all the chosen men of Israel, 30,000, and David and all the people with him set out and went from Baal, Judah, to bring up from there the ark of God, which is called by the name of the Lord of hosts, who is enthroned on the cherubim. And they carried the ark of God on a new cart and brought it out of the house of Abinadab, which was on the hill. Uzzah and Ahio, the sons of Abinadab, were driving the new cart with the ark of God, and Ahio went in front of the ark. And David and all the house of Israel were dancing before the Lord with all their might, with songs and lyres and harps and tambourines and castanets and cymbals. The ark of God referred to here in this is also commonly known as the Ark of the Covenant, and it also figured prominently. It's hard to believe that the movie is going to be is like 42 years old this year, but you probably all heard of the Raiders of the Lost Ark, the action adventure film directed by Steven Spielberg, Harrison Ford. It was set in 1936, and Ford played Indiana Jones, the globe-trotting archaeologist who was vying with Nazi German forces to recover the long-lost, again, Ark of the Covenant, which was said to make an army invincible. And teaming up with his tough former romantic interest, Marion Ravenwood, Jones races to stop rival archaeologist Dr. Rene Belloc from guiding the Nazis to the Ark and its power. And if you remember the movie, I guess after 42 years, spoiler alerts are not shouldn't be an issue, but they did recover it, and then it gets buried in some kind of huge cavernous storage center with the government, and probably never be found again. Truth is, we don't know where the ark is. There is a legend. There's the Ethiopian legend that describes that the Ethiopians are the descendants of the Israelite tribes who came to Ethiopia with Menelik I, who was alleged to be the son of Solomon and the queen of Sheba. And the legend relates that Menelik, as an adult, returned to his father in Jerusalem and then resettled in Ethiopia, and that he took with him the Ark of the Covenant. And I've seen, I don't know what channel, but there's actually a place, and there are monks who they spend their whole life there guarding. Nobody's ever been inside of it except the particular monk whose life has been dedicated to guarding it. And supposedly, according to legend, there in Ethiopia is the lost ark, the real Ark of the Covenant. Of course, that's the legend. That's the tradition. We don't know whether that's true or not. So ultimately, we don't, at least at this point, know what happened to it. Well, in this reading, we hear about this massive procession that accompanied the transfer of the Ark of God, or the Ark of the Covenant, to the new capital of Jerusalem that David had created. Remember, I mentioned, I think yesterday, that he made the new capital of Jerusalem, which was between the north and the south. He was kind of uniting the two ends of Israel and Judah, the two kingdoms. The ark, which was a large box, functioned as God's throne, a visible place for God's invisible presence, so to speak, and it went ahead of the Israelites as they journeyed through the wilderness. You might remember from the whole Exodus story and the wandering in the wilderness. The ark's first home, we're told, was in Canaan, was in the sanctuary at Shiloh. And during a battle with the Philistines, the Israelites called for the ark to be brought into battle, but the Philistines captured the ark. And possession of the ark proved, though disastrous to the Philistines, as it did to the Nazis in Raiders of the Lost Ark, if you remember. And the Philistines so set the ark on a new cart, along with golden objects as guilt offerings, hitched the cart to 2 cows and pointed them towards the Israelite city of Beth Shemesh. And the Israelites celebrated the return of the ark, but 70 men were killed because they looked into the ark. Again, reminiscent of the movie, right? To protect people from violating the holy presence of the Lord, the ark then was moved into Abinadab's house, and his son Eleazar was consecrated to guard it, kind of like the modern day legend of it being in Ethiopia. By retrieving the ark, however, from Abinadab's house here in 2 Samuel, today's reading, David sets out to deliver a visible sign of the Lord's presence and dominion in his new capital. Other ancient Near Eastern rulers demonstrated their allegiance to their gods and signaled divine favor upon their rule by processing a statue of their city's gods into the capital and housing the statue in a temple designated for that god. So it was consistent with practices in that day. Two things stand out, we're told, in the account here of David's procession. Number one, there is no temple, at least in David's lifetime, in which to place the ark. It will reside for now in a tent. And the procession is interrupted in the verses actually following the end of today's reading, a reminder that the divine presence and the power that accompanies the ark are not under David's control, as much as it might seem. And so as the kingdom is united under David, the ark of God arrives in Jerusalem. The monarchy assumes a new role in protecting and promoting Israel's religious life. And subsequent royal households will be judged on how well they fulfill that responsibility, we're told. And so the ark procession described for us in today's reading is a form of religious pageantry, a noisy and joyous celebration. We heard all the instruments and the dancing of God's profession of God's protection and blessing, and of God's residing in the midst of God's people. And so I feel like Paul Harvey. Now you know the rest of the story about the Ark of the Covenant. Well, we're going to wrap up talking about David, and we're going to look at, he's remembered as having composed all the Psalms, which is probably a little doubtful, all 150 of them, but one seems to identify with his life, perhaps more so than some of the others, and that's Psalm 51. And we're going to close out the week tomorrow on Saturday, talking about Psalm 51 as it relates to David's own life. Until then, take care. Have a great day today, and hopefully I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.